All right.
Okay.
Okay, welcome everyone. We are now recording the meeting. I call the meeting to order at 10:03 a.m. Minutes will be taken by our secretary, Darlene from Ontario. We'll also have this recording posted to refer back to. Can I get a volunteer to help take note of task assignments and review those at the end of the meeting?
I'll do that.
Sure.
Who was that spoke up?
Aletha.
Was that Aletha?
Aletha.
Thank you, Aletha.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Aletha.
Okay, for attendance, I will go ahead and read the names that we have posted on the attendees list. Myself, Perry Stokes, Brian Vector, Buzzy Nielsen, Aaron McCusker, Darlene, Mary Reeser. And that does give us a quorum.
You didn't mention my name.
And Lisa
Aletha.
Bonebreak. She is not showing up on the attendees listing.
That is odd.
Why not?
I
don't know why.
Sorry about
I'm
that, Aletha.
on my cell phone. I'm on my cell phone. Should I be somewhere else?
Usually,
it could be that she's calling in instead of online.
Yeah, but usually there is an icon there that shows a caller with a little phone. We're not seeing that, so thank you. Okay. Does anyone object to voting by acclamation, meaning that instead of asking for everyone to say aye, I'll just ask if anyone objects. If no objection, then the measure passes. That works best for this kind of virtual meeting.
Sure.
All right. All right, the agenda. Let's get the agenda up here. The agenda was sent out just yesterday. I think it's been a work in progress. So the link's been out for at least a week, but it's been evolving since then. Does anyone have any additions or deletions from the agenda?
Oh.
Neither do I. We will be doing some business today, passing revision of the bylaws, maybe. Passing the Leo MOU. Does anyone have any conflicts or potential conflicts of interest?
No.
Okay. Now for open forum, I don't see anybody really here that's from the general membership, but this is a chance for any comments, communications for items that are not already listed on the agenda. I'll open up the floor. Hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes. We don't actually have minutes of the previous meeting. Darlene wasn't able to get those done, but we do have the recording posted. If you didn't know, we have Libraries of Eastern Oregon channel, and our minutes are posted there, or our recordings of our meetings are posted there. I just got the August 11th meeting uploaded last night once I realized we didn't have minutes prepared, so that we can use to create our minutes document, because we do want a written reference to look back on. So next time we'll approve those minutes and today's minutes. Moving on to financial report. I think Brian, do you have anything to add on to that? I think we'll mostly cover that when we look at the draft budget.
I don't really have anything to add other than our discussion yesterday, and that we think that possibly some of the funds that are meant for admin fees have been lumped in with our database fees, and membership fees that it appears that maybe there was a either miscommunication or the way it had been done before Yana took over was that it was lumped all into one place, but now we'd like to have it separated so we could more clearly see where certain funds are meant to be broken down, even though they're all just either a savings or a checking account.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Elisa. Brian, when that is done, will we get a new printout emailed to us?
Yeah, we can.
That'd be good to replace what we've
Yes.
got. Okay.
We did have some great news come in last month that we had another $5,000 unsolicited grant from the Eleanor Lloyd Dees Foundation, and those are unrestricted funds. So that's the second year in a row that we've gotten that amount, which is fantastic. And I think Brian, did you send out a acknowledgement on that already, or you or Yana?
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a couple of refunds issued last year for overpayment, double payment on some items. I think Hood River had paid for the genealogy, and we had to return that money since that wasn't something Leo could sustain as a consortial buy. And
one of the other things that we discovered in that scenario is that when they had reissued a check, and then it turned out that they had already paid, and then a refund was issued to them, and then it was discovered that the refund wasn't necessary. The way in which the online banking works, if a check is issued electronically, the funds come out of our account and are held in basically cyberspace until the check is deposited. So even if somebody were to, shred the check, which is what Rachel did, the funds don't remain in our account. They're automatically deducted once the electronic check is issued. However, as soon as you discover that, oh, that check is one that shouldn't have been issued, then we have to go into the bank and tell them, oh, that check that we electronically issued wasn't meant to be issued. We need to cancel it. Then the funds go back into the account.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a little strange because it showed as if in our exchange with Rachel that when you get that check, please just destroy it. But then we saw in the statement that the check had been deposited, as was our assumption, as the funds were missing from the account. And Rachel wrote back, that's not possible. Like, I have the shredded check right here in my possession. There's no way it could have been deposited. And so the way the wonderful world of electronic banking works is that if an electronic check is issued, even if it's not deposited, those funds disappear from our balance as if they had been deposited.
Okay. Since we're missing the end of the year balances and some other detailed reports about membership payments that I want to look at more closely, and we need to finalize, we need that information to really draft the budget for 2018. Brian and Yana will be meeting hopefully this last week in February once Brian is back from his trip, so we can iron out these issues. So we'll now move on to reports from Executive Director, Activity Report.
That's me.
Yay.
So the year in review is how I'll start. I think that I had high hopes for doing grand things last year, but after OLA and my retina detachment issues, I spent a lot more time blind in one eye than I expected, and so it wasn't as productive as I would have liked to have been. And it, you know, luckily now I relatively see mostly okay in that eye. It's from now and forever, it will always have a dreamy Barbara Walters special quality to the way I see out of that eye. And so my goals for this year is to work with the members to sort of get a sense of what consortium wide would be programming and funding that they would like to have. And I think that the project outcome platform that I was trained on in September will be a good tool to sort of interact with members to find out, how my time for Leo would be best utilized in searching for potential grant funding. And at the time, it seemed like it was going to be relatively quick to get the consortium added to the system, and everybody else that went to the training in Portland, I know, is on as individual libraries. But as of this morning, the consortium still has not been added. The last email that I had with Samantha from Project Outcome was January 31st, and they work on 25-day cycles, and our consortium ad has been in the queue to be added since early January, and as of right now, we're just still not there. So I'm hoping that within the next few days that it finally will be live. I've worked to set up a temporary account 2 or 3 times now, and the accounts have to be deleted because the only consortium that's currently online is the Clackamas County library system. So the upside of when we're finally on is that we can still work as individual libraries, but also have all the member libraries that are part of the consortium just use the consortium listing and have access to that service. And it's something that can be used for strategic planning, for budgeting, as well as survey data collection for any type of programming that the libraries are doing. So it seems to be an extremely powerful tool. It just, at this point, I'm a little frustrated that I'm not able to more adequately sort of research how it would be best for Leo, as well as to get ready to do the training in March with the several different locations. So on March 14th, we'll be doing a training in Baker. I need to schedule with Darlene to do one in Ontario, and then with Jeff and the Dalles. So we're hoping to do them between the like 10th of March and like the 25th. And Kathy Street and Aaron McCusker and Aaron Wells, as well as Cecily Longhorn, and I have been meeting somewhat regularly to talk about how it's best to be utilized. And I think all of them have had the opportunity to work with it some. Cecily seems to have worked with it the most of anybody, and I think Aaron as well. So it's when we do the trainings, a group of us will probably go out, and then it's, hopefully it will help us to do some more really good things within the consortium.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to attend the session here in Baker, I think we planned on 9 o'clock in the morning. It's like a Wednesday.
And it's about, they recommend about 4 to 6 hours to be committed to the training. The one that we did in Portland, it was very informative, but not user intensive, was the way that we all felt. Like we would have liked to have actually done a survey start to finish to do more hands-on, and it was a general overview of how the platform works. And so when we do the training, our plan is to do an actual hands-on, like here's how you set it up. There's definitely templates that are what you utilize, and while you can tailor it to your specific need, there are certain things that are not editable. So like there may be a standard 6 questions as part of a program survey for early learning, and you could add 2 to 3 questions to it if you like. But a lot of the stuff, the way in which they've designed it and feel that it works most effectively, is to use the templates as is without making too many adjustments. And there are a lot of different styles based on the type of programs that you're doing or what you're looking to use it for.
So as far as the surveying aspect, it sounds kind of like SurveyMonkey. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, but I think it has a little bit more public library specific type survey tools. Like it's not unlike SurveyMonkey, it's very specific to public libraries.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing
how it works. What's it called, Brian?
It's called Project Outcome.
Okay.
Elisa,
and
if you are free, you're welcome to join us. We're going to have several of our key staff that manage projects and grants do it.
I would love to. You bet. Okay. You bet. I'm just trying to figure out whether it was I've filled out a third party kind of a survey that then funders actually go to save themselves time. But this is not what this is.
Okay.
Is it? When you speak of the survey component, it sounds more like finding out what you need to get in order to support grant requests. Is that more accurate?
It can be, like as Buzzy noted, that in his experience, it's great for surveying programs, but not so great for services.
Okay.
And it's true. It's not very flexible. Like it's geared towards very specific sort of data collection. It's a nationwide platform specifically for libraries, both public and institutional type libraries. So I think they've done quite a bit of work to make it. And one of the things that they talked about at the training was how some libraries use it for strategic planning and strategic budgeting. But the thing is not being able to use it right now. Like I haven't been able to look at how you might be able to use it for that sort of planning on, for your board of directors versus for just library staff. Like if the library board wanted to use it, it could be done. It could be used that way too.
Okay, well, good. So we'll learn more about it when you schedule the training.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that along those same lines is we discussed the possibility of using some of the recent grant funds for covering the cost of travel, because we have some travel related to these trainings. Like it can be done in a GoToMeeting style, or people could, come in that way. But I think that there's some, need for a person to be in a certain place. And so if the board needs to have that put in writing or in, a more formal request form, that's something that I know Aaron and Kathy and Aaron were hoping we could use the funds for.
I would suggest that it be made kind of a formal concept, because we've talked many times about fulfilling some of the old roles of Eastern Oregon Library Consortium, and this is in fact precisely one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could think about it that way and maybe expand those thoughts for other good things, so I would applaud supporting the travel necessary, or subsidizing it if people can afford some and not all, but somehow explore that.
Okay.
So the state library doesn't have any travel funds to contribute.
Well, they gave funding for going to the training, and I think Kathy asked them if there was funds available for travel related to the training, because they wanted us to do, all of us that came to that training, if you accepted funding, they wanted you to do like 2 to 3 additional trainings throughout your region. And when she asked about funds available for that, it went unanswered.
Okay.
As far as I know right now, go ahead.
Did you say Kathy was also one of the trainers? Kathy Street?
Yeah, Kathy was one of the Street. Mm-hmm.
And
Aaron just said that. Go ahead, Elise.
Is someone going to check with the state library to see if that is the case or not the case? It probably isn't, but since you brought it up, do you want that to go on a task list?
Well, I think we have asked, and Aaron McCusker noted that the OLA is helping coordinate, and Buzzy said that they don't have funding for that. So I think the answer is now no.
Okay. So, but we're going to explore with our board right here, the Leo board, subsidizing some travel to the trainings that we're doing, like Ontario and Baker. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. I got it.
I think the other sort of activity report that I see that I think I need to be doing is looking into getting some updates to our website. I know there's been a bunch of staff changes that aren't reflected on our directory. I also think that there's just some minor sort of housekeeping things that could be done, like slightly better photographs and some of the slideshows that are on the different pages. As of yesterday, I was still waiting to hear whether or not our Art Place, Art Engage at the Library book won a Print and Design Award. It was nominated last year, but I've Dan Garcia, who was our graphic designer and layout artist for it, is still waiting to hear back. So hopefully we'll, continue to keep that torch alive for a little bit longer as far as Art Place goes. And it's also going to be featured in what I think is considered the fall OLA newsletter.
Wow.
Is that the issue, Buzzy? sent something to Charles the other day. So, and then Aaron McCusker just wrote that Jerry Ann Thompson said there are some remaining grant funds for the project that they haven't made a final decision on that may help with mileage assistance, but she's waiting to hear back. So, you know, maybe if we tell them that we have X number of dollars towards mileage assistance, then there would be matching funds from what they had left.
Oh, OLA Public Library Division is coordinating, not State Library.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So who is Aaron checking with? I have it on my task list.
Jerry Ann Thompson.
Jerry and, okay,
Thompson.
Could you spell that, please?
Sure. THOMP as in Paul, SO.
Okay, Thompson. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, Art Place, project outcome. I think the other thing of note is that Leo's logo and slogan will be featured pretty prominently with the upcoming OLA conference, thanks to Buzzy being the chair and coordinator of that. So that'll be pretty exciting to see that all over the place. Maybe we should wear a little Leo member badge.
Yeah, we are Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Or wear a star on our head. I'm a Leo star.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
I could maybe fabricate a hat that has the constellation of stars that you know, has that we all have to wear. It's like a beanie that those come off of. And
if you actually did it, I'd wear it.
all right.
Okay,
Put that
let's
down on my list of things to do. Make Aletha a hat.
There you go. I'll be there.
move on to old business. Just old business item we've discussed before. We had the possibility of working with OMSI for a National Science Foundation proposal, but OMSI was not awarded that grant, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah, they're still trying other ones. So, moving on to revision of Leo bylaws. We don't have the minutes from last time, and I didn't have a chance to go back and listen to the discussion. But we did talk about revising the bylaws last time. On my paper copies, I just have one change that we discussed, and that was to the membership Article 2, Section 1, changing it from there shall be no formal members to Leo board shall have full discretion to consider and admit or reject new organizations. Each organization must agree to terms of an MOU to initiate and maintain membership. I think this was in tandem with the MOU that we're proposing.
Right.
I don't think we talked about changing, or I don't think we agreed to change any other elements such as the board numbers. So that would be the only change.
Do we vote on that or what?
Bylaws may be amended when necessary by a simple majority.
Okay.
Proposed amendments must be discussed at a board meeting and then submitted to the secretary to be sent out with regular announcements for consideration at the next board meeting. So that, we didn't get it sent out.
Okay, so Darlene needs to send it out for the May 11th meeting, huh?
That's probably wise. And we'll be sending the MOU out at that time as well.
Okay.
So
but Darlene does the the minutes, and who's sending out the MOU?
That should probably actually come from me.
Or Terry? Okay.
Yeah.
So Terry is sending out the MOU.
Yeah.
You already did, of course, but doesn't that count?
I sent the MOU, but not the bylaws, so we will need to distribute that before we vote to approve it.
Yes, right. The sending out the bylaws, but that was, let's see, is Darlene sending out the minutes or the bylaws? Which? Terry's sending out the bylaws, right?
Right.
And Darlene is sending out the minutes, or she's. Help me out here.
I think Darlene's supposed to send out the bylaws and the minutes, and Perry is supposed to send out the MOU.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
That's what I thought. That's okay. Got it. Thank you. Got it. For the May 11th meeting. Is May 11th another voice, or are we meeting somewhere? We don't know.
Probably a few of us will meet together by that time. I don't know if we'll have
I think we should do it in person.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Heck, with the weather, we could have traveled anywhere right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Woohoo. Okay.
Okay, so the MOU was sent out to the general membership. I got some comments back from Aaron McCusker and crafted a new paragraph to insert, and that was to clarify program services. So that reads, to be eligible for program services, member libraries acknowledge that payment of annual membership dues does not guarantee delivery of program services from LEO. LEO's capacity to procure and facilitate programs is almost entirely dependent on the success of grant funding. LEO shall make reasonable efforts to distribute programs equitably among its members, but delivery may be restricted by efficiently achieving outcomes stipulated in the grant. Timely, accurate responsiveness to LEO communications is required for participation in program services. A timely manner, quote, unquote, is generally understood to mean within 5 days. That's a business week. Some program opportunities may be only partially funded and will require a matching or proportional payment by the hosting library to be billed to the member library on a case-by-case basis. So that addresses some of the issues that we've had in miscommunication with members. Hopefully that will clarify things. Does anybody have any comments, concerns about including that in the MOU?
I like it. So you're sending that as an amendment to be voted on separately, or are you going to include it in the MOUs that you send out?
I already sent out the link to that.
Yes.
So I've inserted it in the MOU to be approved for today.
Okay.
We hadn't discussed it yet, but I did send it out for people to read and review.
I saw it, but I'm just saying, when you're sending out the MOU for approval at the May 11th meeting, are you going to have it then incorporated, if we vote on it, are you going to have it incorporated in what you send out for May 11th?
So we're going to approve it tonight or today is the plan. When we send it out, it will be with the billings to be returned signed.
Okay. Okay. Since you live so close to me, I might even come down and ask you to clarify all this.
Okay.
I think the only part of it that I noticed based on sort of helping to clarify is that in the second paragraph at the bottom, it says negotiate group contracts with goal of mitigating the costs of providing library program services and contents. If you don't think that that causes any confusion by having it there.
Tell me again where that is.
Or if we can, it's on the first page, second paragraph before general establishment. It's the last, basically the last line of that.
Okay, of the one of the opening
paragraph. Yeah. Just the consortium can identify and pursue funding opportunities and negotiate group contracts with the goal of mitigating the cost of providing library program services and content. And I think by having it say the consortium can identify and pursue funding opportunities is what helps to make it clarified that if the funding is there, then program services and content would also be there.
So did you say you had a concern with that?
I was wondering if anybody else thinks that that would be a misleading, that by having it say so early on in the document that programs are part of it, or if it's clearly worded enough that it doesn't say, it doesn't read as if Leo guarantees programming with membership.
No, it says can. Doesn't say will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it. Yeah, that was the only place when I read through it that I was like, this is pretty clear, but and also if you're just skimming it, then maybe you think, oh, look, library programs.
Yeah, it's not a will or a shall.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
All right. Well, it sounds like there is consensus on the MOU as presented. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Objection?
I would move to approve the MOU with the addition of the language that Aaron wrote, 2.4.
2.4.
Be prepared for sending out on the 11th for membership to sign or sooner. I don't know.
To be sent out with the billing statements.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Mary Reeser of Gillum seconds. Okay. All right. So if none object to the proposal, it's been moved and seconded. We do have unanimous consent. Are there any objections?
I just noticed that on the copy I have printed, it has 2.4 twice, but on the one you have on the screen, it has been corrected to be 2.4 and then 2.5 and then 2.6. So.
I noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Are other people not on audio?
Correct. They're all just typing in the chat window.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I was just wondering.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hearing no objections, then the motion passes. So we have a new MOU. Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Okay. So now next is Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Just wanted to include that as a reminder. Leo doesn't have a role for coordination of this, but we do want to help promote the opportunity and remind members that you have until this June to establish a program, get 50% of funding for your community, and the Dolly Parton folks are very helpful to get that going. The other 50% is already funded by the James and Shirley Rippey Foundation. So if you have any questions, our foundation, thanks to the fantastic leadership of its president, Aletha Bonebrake, has got that going in our area for Baker County and also the service territory of our electric co-op, OTEC. So that's Baker,
Union,
Harney,
Harney, and
Malheur. Baker, Union, Harney, and Grant.
And I would suggest on top of that, that if any of you are in an electric co-op territory, that you maybe approach your board right away, because this particular initiative has been carried by our CEO all the way to the statewide annual meeting and presented this whole concept of supporting your community as the seventh cooperative principle by funding this thing for your kids. So anyone that is in an electric co-op territory, go to your co-op and say what OTEC did, and to call the OTEC CEO and see if they won't fund yours as well.
Yeah.
I know that a few co-ops have already picked it up, and this is your chance.
Mm-hmm. And even if it's not a co-op, even if it's a commercial utility, they should still feel the pressure to contribute towards the funding.
Well, maybe so, but the co-ops have built into their mission community service.
Yeah, Mary.
So, and they have money. They have money to use for that, for scholarships, because it's not part of what they collect for rates. It's money that has reverted to the co-op because people have died and not collected their money. So this can only be used for community improvement, scholarships, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, if you have a question, give me a call.
Mary Reeser wrote that they've had the program in Gillum for over a year, and it's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And Elton has the program too. They've had it separately.
I think Lake County, I saw an announcement that they were able to establish a program. So
that's true.
We should map out, or maybe Dolly has a map already of where programs are established, but it is spreading. It's great.
Right. My only point is that that there's a full payment of the other half from an electric co-op if you can approach them in a timely manner.
Right. Darlene says
all.
Ontario
won't work.
Ontario has done it.
I don't know. Good.
I think you should note that Mary Finney is on now as well. And we have somebody that is on as staff. That might be Aletha. But
okay. Mary Finney. All right. Noted. Thank you.
Mary Finney is just a listener. Thank
you. Thank you, Mary. All right. We'll move on to new business. Talking about database subscriptions first. We plan on continuing Library to Go, of course, and EBSCO's auto repair. You can view the draft pricing list. I'll pull that up here in a second. The Library to Go fees have increased by 2% from our billings, but we'll need to increase our general membership distribution fee by 6%. Last year we anticipated Warm Springs joining, and we also can't count on Wallowa County, so we had to take those out. So we need to make that up a little bit. That's the 6%. So not a huge jump. EBSCO did increase by $500, and so we've increased that over the membership, which is a 10% increase to cover that cost. There shouldn't be a increase to Leo membership fee. But we'll know more about that once we get the detailed reports, financial reports with our carryover balance from last year, so we can know that we're in a good position. It's always worth noting that Leo's consortial purchase of Library to Go gets that resource at about a 75% discount for our members as a whole. If everyone were to subscribe individually, they'd be paying in aggregate about $150,000, and as compared to just under $30,000 for that. So that's fantastic that we can all come together and make that happen. And that's the purpose of Leo. So this document of the draft databases will be a work in progress until we get the budget finalized. But it is available. You can link to it from the Leo website. And there's also in the agenda here links to those folders as well that are on Google Docs.
And that's what you have up on screen right now for everybody that's viewing online, is the database fees and what their projected fees will be for this coming year.
Correct. Okay. Any other discussion about database subscriptions? All right. Moving on to item B, appointing Leo Listen's representative to ODLC. That's the Oregon Digital Library Consortium. Ryan McGinnis of LeGrand has been our Leo Listens rep. I think he's got a executive board position on that as well. I did send out an email invitation to see if anybody else wanted to get involved in that. Ryan is willing to continue, but he said he'd be willing to turn that over if anybody else wanted to do it, give them a chance to have the fun that is being the Leo Listens rep. So we didn't get any. Does anybody have anybody to nominate at the meeting today or volunteer? So hearing none, I'll nominate Ryan
Cricket.
to be reappointed as our Leo Listens rep for another 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Second if you need it.
Okay. Do we have any objections to approving that nomination? All right, hearing and seeing none, Ryan is approved. Congratulations, Ryan. Now we will move on to budget proposal for 2018. Again, we didn't have the full financial reports to give us our carryover balance, so we will meet later this month and finalize that and send the budget proposal out in March. Let's look at the draft budget as we have currently. Okay, so I have on screen, Aletha, I don't know if you can see this.
I printed it. I thought I was going to be somewhere else.
Okay. I have columns of previous years. The purple is from 2016. The green here is 2017, and this kind of mauve, or I don't know what you would call that, is 2018, the draft budget. We started last year with a good amount of leftover funds from Art Place. Taking those out, I'm just guessing, and we'll be retaining the amount that we need for core operations and staff at about $25,000 as temporarily restricted funds, and then permanently restricted is the endowment funds, which should be relatively unchanged. It may have increased slightly with in interest or something. Administration fees. In the report that we got from Yana, there's nothing here in the database fee, which is the 25% on Library to Go and 10% on EBSCO. I think that's still bundled down in the ledger entry for the income from the online services. So we'll need to move that back up here once we get that broken out. So altogether, those memberships and admin fee should get us about $20,000. That's about the same for next year, $20,320. Donations, we had a $332 general fund donation last year. We're not budgeting anything in that since that's not reliable funding, but we can always accept those funds anyway. Foundation grants, we got the Eleanor Lloyd Dees Foundation plus some other small ones for a total of $68.50 in 2017. Eleanor Lloyd Dees again this year, so we've already budgeted that in. Could just go ahead and put 5,000 there. That's all we'll put since we don't have anything to depend on for funding there. Miscellaneous income.
Are you going to project any before you finalize the budget? Are you going to project any expectations on what you have in mind for applications or not?
I thought I would not, since I don't think we even have any applications out there.
Okay, just asking.
That is correct. Yeah, there's no applications out for funds right now.
Okay.
But we can update the budget as necessary, since it's a nonprofit. We're not really bound by the same legal budget requirements as public libraries. Miscellaneous income, we've got $500 in there, and that's our target amount for board member contributions. We encourage board members to contribute $50 to $100, and I think I forgot to do that last year, so might have to make a double payment this year.
I'm making a task.
I think the board members that did it were Perry, Buzzy, Kathy Street, and maybe Aletha. I don't know that there were contributions, and please, everybody, correct me if I'm wrong, from any of the other board members.
That's okay.
I'm making a task. I'm making a task for someone, either Brian or Perry, to send out a note that the members should contribute as board members.
Brian.
So that they can respond. Brian, you want to do that?
Sure.
Or Perry?
That would be good to come from Brian, yeah.
All right, Brian. If you do that, then people, they don't have to remember just because they heard it here or didn't.
Right.
Okay.
On the online programs, under program fees, here you can see the refund issued, collected a little less for EBSCO. We may still have some outstanding payments in that to collect. Again, then we need to look at the detail and make sure that we got all the payments that we need from those who are subscribed. So the cost for the auto repair resource center, $8,516 last year. It's going up to $9,050. And Library to Go increased by about $600. Sales, we have just as a kind of place taker for any proceeds on Sense of Place and our other publications. We've always intended or had the goal of getting an online posting of those besides our website, like listing them on Amazon or something. That may help generate some sales of those. But nothing received in that line last year. We'll just keep that as a place taker. So altogether, total income $104,818.
Perry, I
Yeah.
have a question. In this past year that's just closed out, why did our libraries come in with more money than was even budgeted?
That, again, I need to look at that more closely, but I think that includes the administrative Leo fees. That's the 25%
Oh, yeah, okay.
that we need to break out and
Okay.
move up because we have
that
nothing
explains.
up there.
Okay, thanks.
The operating expenses, we were great at underspending on this last year. We only spent $1,653 out of the $4,240 that we budgeted. I'm going to leave that as unchanged for the proposed budget for now. We'll look at that more closely. I do have some questions about the insurance. We don't have any payment listed in there, and nothing for website either. So we'll get those issues worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I think as far as insurance is concerned, I'm sure it's an annual bill, and I can look through my records to see when we last approved payment of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as website, I'm positive that the last time we made a payment for the update was via either Hoover or Bluehost. Like, I think during the process of redoing the website with the Art Place program,
Mm-hmm.
we discovered that there were a bunch of websites that were paid and registered that weren't being used, and then multiple sort of domain registries that were being used when only one was necessary. So there have been a couple of things related to the website that have been canceled because they were, a redundancy had been in place. And so I have not seen any new bills of any kind as far as that stuff goes.
Mm-hmm.
So
that I expect that cost, since our web place fell under the Art Place expenses, it's probably down here in the Art Place lines. Payroll expenses.
So it looks like August last year is when I renewed the website, and it was for like $19.17.
Oh, wow. For a year?
Yeah, it shows that, the 1 year renewal was $18.99 plus the ICANN fee of 18 cents, so it was $19.17.
That's
so
pretty low. It might be just for the domain registration, not the web hosting.
So let's see. Yes, so that's for our domain.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Bluehost is our host, so let me look that up. Bluehost. That's probably one more.
So just some discussion on the payroll while Brian's looking that up. We budgeted $11,700 for Brian, spent just under that at $11,525. And for bookkeeper, we budgeted $3,900 and only spent $1,453. So Jana's monthly invoices have ranged from $50 a month to lower 200s. So I propose that we reroute some of that budget to increase the hours for Brian from 9 to 10 hours a week.
Yes.
And then drop
Good suggestion. Yeah.
drop that budgeted hours for Jana down to 2 on average per month. And that keeps the total the same at 15,600.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm sure you don't need a motion because you're just going to present it that way, right?
Right.
Okay.
ArtPlace, our line of expenses for 2017 on our ArtPlace is a little bit more than our budgeted amount, so that's something we also need to look more closely at. Some of those expenses may need to be rerouted to other lines.
Right.
Co-op programs, we have $2,000 expended. I don't really have details on that. Miscellaneous program costs $62.94 last year. And then we have our database costs. Those are the actual payments to the vendors. So altogether, there seems to be a calculation error here, maybe. Total expenses of $112,639.
Yeah. You've got that.
Okay, and then so 112,000 expenses. Our total income was 174. Our resources, including our carryover, which leaves us a balance anticipated of about 62,000. So we'll see how that matches with the actual bank statements later this month.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion about that draft budget? Okay. We will then move on to any annual goals or metrics we want to set for Brian for this coming year.
I think Brian should continue to come in under budget. Along with Jana, that he needs to approach this like Sidney Lumet did with his filmmaking, under budget.
We do have a subscription to the grant station for identifying and tracking grants. So hopefully we can get some grant funding going, and Brian can get some additional funding, and we can get some programs. So I guess that would be the main goal for this.
Earn his keep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Alita.
Oh, well, it's the same thing. I was going to say, let's be specific about an annual goal that Brian identify, maybe through survey or conversations, some desirable database or something to fund, and then pursue grants for that specific thing. Just a single kind of goal. Something that we can say, yeah, it happened, or no, it didn't, or it happened 70%, and we're going to increase our opportunity by 25% the following year, or something, instead of just a generic, go find some grants and let's see what we want to get with it.
how many grants do we want? We expect Brian
I
to
think
apply for?
I would say if he's not funding himself, I mean, if he's getting that through our memberships and his admin, I would say that let's have him try to identify one significant addition to our offerings of databases and find grant funding that will help offset that, maybe with a match from Leo membership, and that would include maybe a survey of people's desires and ability to participate. Just one, maybe. Just a thought. At least it's measurable.
Yeah, I'm making notes. So
Ancestry would be a nice one.
We already have that.
All of them, everybody buying in.
Not everybody buys in, but
I know.
there's about.
I know.
I think there's 10. Oh no, we had to drop that. That's right. We kept the auto.
I know, because I was up in Aaron McCusker's space when we had to let it go. So, and that was a heartbreaker, kind of.
Yeah.
So and everybody loves it. So, I mean, I'm sure a few libraries buy it on their own, but as a consortium, that might be something to look at, unless Brian can identify something that is more desired.
Yeah, I think we might look at something like Tumble Books we've talked about in the past. We've talked about a language learning database. I saw a promotion for Mango Languages that we're offering a significant discount. You might look into that.
Right. And that can be based on finding out already what people are willing and able to pay, and that makes a grant a lot stronger. To say we've got this match committed, sort of thing. And that would be a good pattern for moving forward, for expanding our offerings. I'd say make it a simple goal, and yeah.
So I have search for one program funding grant per year, one ancestry grant, and one language grant.
That includes a survey of what people actually want and can help match.
Yeah,
from their own budget.
I don't think we want to stipulate what the databases are going to be right at this point. We haven't surveyed the members.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was just saying, one really big deal is maybe enough of a metric. But then that's just what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not going to write that down as a task because that's a goal, and that's in Brian's bailiwick.
Okay.
All right. Well, no more discussion on that. We'll move on. I think since Buzzy doesn't have voice capability, this might not be a good time to return to that topic on how OLA can support small rural non-I5 libraries. But I just wanted to include that. I don't remember whether we got to that at the last meeting or not. OLA is helping with that project outcome. So if anybody has any other ideas, certainly let Buzzy know. He's a great advocate for our area.
All right.
I had to deal with a long patron interaction.
Oh, hey.
Welcome back.
Yes. There's a patron who basically wants us to do her research for us and is kind of abusing the "we will spend 15 minutes a day with you" thing.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
So kind of like, we will show you how to do this. We're not going to do this for you.
Right.
Yes. Anyway. Yeah, no, if you guys have anything that OLA could be doing for you, please let us know. I know that there are several people in rural Oregon who are in the new, going to be in the Leadership Institute, so we're excited about that. It's going to be in Pendleton in May, so that's cool. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, like I said, just let us know. We've mainly just been focusing on the conference right now, of course, but there are a few other things that have come up. We had a rather sudden legislative issue come up that doesn't really directly affect any of you, but it has to do with basically allowing counties to use the county law library allotment to basically do things that do not involve county law libraries.
Yep.
So, anybody have any questions about what's going on at ALA? Or OLA?
I'm wondering, Buzzy, this is Alisa here. I'm wondering, over the years, we've talked at the state library and we've talked with LSTA-funded surveys and research and so on about continuing education opportunities. What was done by the state library many, many, many years ago with a traveling continuing education person. And I'm just wondering if after all the surveys were done and people said they would actually go to these special continuing education things, if there were any kind of subsidies for either the presenters or for some kind of mileage to a location in a regional center. Is that anything OLA can or has ever thought to be able to do with some set aside? Because it's always an issue out here and nothing ever seems to really come of it. So I'm just asking if that's even a radar kind of thing or not.
I mean, it's something we're thinking about. I will be honest with you that I think that OLA does not really have the budget to put a lot of money into something like that. But what we are doing and what I'm hoping that you've seen the results of is a lot more of our units are doing a few different things. One is they're moving their meetings around to different state. Another is that a lot of them are trying to pair their meetings with continuing education opportunities. So I think probably the best examples of this are OEN and CSD.
Right.
So they tend to have board meetings together with trainings, and they are trying to do them around the state. And that's kind of where our discussions are moving to now, is almost having kind of like, I don't want to say conferences, but kind of like regional activities like that. The Oregon Association of School Libraries has kind of already been doing some of this, and we'd like to try to piggyback off of each other. So that's kind of where our discussions are going right now, is basically take that time and effort and money that's already being spent and try to just spread it around.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. That brings me back to what we've talked about at Leo and whether we're going to take on the mantle of continuing education opportunities that Eastern Oregon Library Association used to do, EOLA used to do with these twice yearly meetings that people seem to be able to afford to attend. It would fit in with what Buzzy is saying as far as deploying training. So I would suggest that Leo continue to explore maybe that kind of a role in conjunction with whatever OLA is trying to accomplish.
Yeah,
because we don't have EOLA anymore.
We're trying to get people to talk to each other. So if CSD is planning something in whatever the Dalles that maybe Reforma would know, and like, hey, maybe we can do something around the same day to make it kind
exactly. Of yeah. And that's something people would pay to go to that was based on the survey that was done with LSTA money probably 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. They would pay something to do that if it's worth their while. So
Right.
I just don't want us to lose that regional strength that we once had in terms of shared learning.
Right. I will say that I was approached by OCF basically by the same group that funded Penny Hummel's Public Library Needs Assessment, if you guys are familiar with that. And they're interested in library innovation, and so they actually want to give us some money to help kind of figure out how to encourage library innovation and kind of what that means. What we talked about on the board was actually it's just about time for us to start Vision 2030. Which I feel like is kind of OLA's main thing that we do in terms of like thinking about innovation and how libraries are innovating. And so we're hoping to use some of that money to make sure that people can actually afford to come and meet in person. But there are other opportunities for those things too. And but usually I will say those times when OLA has been able to fund travel typically come from grants. They don't typically come out of our budget.
Okay, so that's my challenge to Leo, that it may be that we want to actually consider making that one of our goals, to focus on maybe supporting some kind of a regional training that is not only really important but also subsidized. In addition to our databases, just maybe one thing, and to talk in those terms again, if you're willing. Just a request. Because and this is just a bit of soapbox. If we talk about innovation, we talk about people getting together, talk about innovation, and here we've got Douglas County all shut down, and we've got Wallowa County about to implode, and so on and so forth. I don't think they're going to actually travel for innovation anytime soon. They're still trying to hang on to what we.
For the Vision 2030 thing.
I know.
But I agree. I mean, we're trying to expand the opportunities that we can, but they all cost money.
Well, not only that, but we're losing things that have been status quo for 40 years.
Like what kinds of things?
Like county libraries.
Yes, although Wallowa's district campaign seemed like it's going okay. So
I don't know, Buzzy. We can talk about that.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Hey, at least we had five county libraries that reopened as districts, right?
I know. Isn't that wonderful?
Is that right? Maybe it's just no. Let's see: Josephine, Jackson, Hood River, Deschutes, and who am I missing? Maybe it's only 4, but still 4. That's pretty good. Take it.
I guess I want to sort of ask Aletha in regards to your regional training or gathering. Do you think that the project outcome training qualifies as something along the lines of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's a great start, and it exists. So yeah, sure I do. I just would love to see this. I would love to see Leo put this in the context of being an Eastern Oregon Library Association kind of educational component, as opposed to ordinary Leo goals of programming and database. In other words, try to regain that concept of learning together. That's all.
I guess along those lines, are you interested in opening it up or doing some sort of public invitation to libraries within our regions to either attend in person or electronically these trainings? Because obviously there are some libraries that aren't members that could benefit from this kind of training. So like North Powder,
Well,
it's not a member library, but they're they could potentially benefit from learning and using project outcomes.
Well,
I guess it's just a question of what's the what level of offering to non-members do you want to have, and then two, is that the sort of thing where if we make an offer like this to Craig at Warm Springs to say, hey Craig, we're doing this, maybe you're using it already, maybe you're not, but you'd like to learn about using it, this is no cost to you to attend, or have a library staff attend either in person or electronically, and at that point maybe they'll go, oh, okay, the weird quirky thing that happened last year with the non-delivery of the MOU has been made up for with this invitation to this training, and now we see why it would be valuable to become a member, because both Perry and I haven't heard back from them since the time invoices went out last year, but without sending him a finalized MOU. So I think he was like, oh, this is great and all, but I need an MOU to be reviewed and then approved by my board. And since then we haven't heard anything. So I guess I'm just
okay. The question I'm hearing, Brian.
Yeah.
The question I'm hearing from you is, should we open this up to people who have not paid Leo memberships nor a member of Leo? That's the question I'm hearing. And I think it's worth a board discussion, but my personal vision is that the more we include people in our region, the libraries, the rural libraries in our region, as if they were part of our region and were libraries, in things that we do, the more likely they are to see the value of even Leo and maybe begin to participate. But I see the EOLA concept, educational concept, as being a separate kind of thing that Leo could promote in the interests of our mission. So if it's not going to cost us money out of our coffers, if you can get a grant to get them there as a regional continuing education thing, I say, sure, it should be open to everyone. But that is something for the board to discuss.
Sure, and I think along those lines, depending on where they're at and what kind of staff schedule that they have, offering it to where they can join electronically or offering it to where they're close enough to come in person. I don't necessarily see it as our responsibility to find grant funding to have non-member libraries be able to attend programs that we're doing as far as training. But I do think if we offer them the way to join in either electronically, or if they choose to, take time out of their schedule to come in person, that it's worth it to offer it.
Let me put it this way. If it's not costing us anything, then why couldn't we offer it? If it is costing us something, that's a different situation. In other words,
sure.
Are we interested in being missionaries?
I would say
yeah,
we can invite them to participate as a guest member, but if we have a travel subsidy or staffing subsidy of some kind to distribute, that would only be, they'd have to be a Leo member to be eligible for that, because that would cost us money. Does that clarify things?
Yes.
I think that clarifies things. I just want to know if Leo is the least bit interested in trying to take on that extra arm of bringing in continuing education that is not necessarily databases and programs. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because we've lost that. When Leo became Leo and Sage became Sage, EOLA disappeared.
Mm-hmm. I think we should look at that needs assessment from Penny and survey members and see. I'd be interested to know how many people from our libraries actually make it to a conference and, periodically. I think we're familiar with those who do.
Yeah.
And it's,
yeah, that survey was done, as I said, by Ruth Met several years ago, and many of the libraries said they would pay X amount of money to travel to, say, Pendleton or Baker or Ontario or Hermiston in order to go to a training. They would actually afford it, but nobody's asked them to come.
And we need to.
And I will say, just as a warning for you guys, OLA is becoming increasingly limited in terms of where we can hold our conferences. So I know this isn't really relevant to Eastern Oregon, but it's relevant to our rural friends down in the South. There's a good chance this is going to be the last year we're going to have the conference in Eugene, which basically means there are functionally only 3 locations we can have it in, which is Salem, Bend, and Portland. And even Portland presents its own unique sets of issues. So, because there aren't facilities outside of those 3 towns that can handle us, and in case you're curious about why we're not having Eugene, the Hilton is a complete pain in the butt to work with and is wickedly expensive. So probably going to dump them too. So it would be good if we could find ways to get some activities out into 2 other areas. Part of what the leadership committee was hoping to do by having the leadership institute out in Pendleton was to also show some of those people in the institute, hey, look, Pendleton's cool. Maybe you should do more stuff out here too.
Right. And basically, I'm not talking about conferences per se. I'm talking about a single training of a morning and maybe afternoon on something like cybersecurity or personal security or crazy people toting guns or, one-off kinds of trainings that people really care about. Something that might be a single solitary presentation at OLA that we could actually duplicate out here with the right kind of presenters. That's what I'm talking about.
Some of these things might cost money and some of them might not. I mean, we have a lot of expertise both in Eastern Oregon and in the Oregon Library community in general. So we might be able to get people to come out extremely inexpensively to do those sorts of things too.
Well, I appreciate you putting it on the radar. Yeah, we don't need to talk about it now anymore. I just really, really wanted to get a place taker for that thought.
Okay.
So can we put on one of our goals for Brian to explore grant opportunities that would support professional development events for LEO members?
Yes, that's good.
All right.
So this is kind of a weird thought. I don't know how this would work, but you know how some of the OLA units will do continuing ed scholarships?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Leo could apply for one and basically say, hey, we want $500 to bring this person in to talk to us about whatever, dealing with volatile patrons.
That's a fun idea.
It doesn't really matter, but I'm almost wondering if we could apply as an organization.
Okay.
Oh,
I realize
I guess you get to explore that.
Yeah. Each of the divisions kind of does things a little differently.
Yeah, it's very creative. You gonna look into that, Brian?
Yes, I'm making a note.
Because I'm just thinking, like, you could have whatever, bring somebody to LeGrand or some other central or Baker. Talk about this and say, if you give us this money for this, we anticipate that we will get X number of people attending.
Well, I think that might be a good, if we have any extra funds, maybe we could take applications or just nominations and have a raffle to support sending a LEO member to staff support division conference or OLA even or something like that.
I like that too, a lot.
When was the last time it was held out there? Do you know?
No.
Not in 10 years.
Like never?
Before my time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just that division has a hard time getting people on their board, and I have a feeling where it happens has a lot to do with who's on the board. But I mean, it seems like that conference is small enough that it easily could happen out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Except that you're dealing with travel costs, which really libraries balk at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
it's way more expensive. Way.
Yeah, well, we travel to their side all the time. They can travel.
A few of us that go do, yeah.
They can travel over on the east side every once in a while. It doesn't happen that often.
I know.
But you're right. We occasionally get people who gripe when we have the conference in Bend.
And Bend isn't even Eastern Oregon, in spite of what people think.
No, well, but it's on the east side of the mountain.
That's true.
Yeah,
those
just
mountains.
Like the Dalles is Eastern Oregon because it's on the east side of the Cascades.
No, trust me, I know. Crook County is not even really Eastern Oregon, although culturally I think we're more Eastern Oregon.
It feels like it, doesn't it, Buzzy?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Then I look and see those data centers up on the hill, and I think, well, maybe not.
They're creeping. Yeah.
You've got more hicksters there than hipsters.
That is a good assessment. Yes. Although we are getting more hipsters now too, because lots of hipsters can't afford property in Bend either.
Yeah.
All right. Good discussion. If we don't have anything else, we'll look at the agenda items for next meeting. I think we'll be approving the bylaws. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Do we want to select a location to gather? We want to
Good idea. Let's try it.
Try to have it in Pendleton or Hermiston?
I think that's what we were talking about last time, wasn't it?
We were.
Huh?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference? Hermiston, Pendleton?
Well, if it's in Pendleton, maybe, well, I don't know what Wallowa is going to be doing. It might make it easier for Ontario and Grant both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Pendleton's a little more central, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is, yeah. And Hermiston, the people that come up from Hood River and the Dalles and so on, it's a quicker trip, Mm-hmm. It might be a mile or two more, but it's a lot less time.
Okay.
You mean Hermiston or Pendleton?
Pendleton. If they're in Pendleton and they have to come up from the Dalles or Hood River, they're coming up a really big highway.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, it's kind of a negligible difference, and it's actually not that long of a drive.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Well, anyway, I'm suggesting Pendleton because I think more. Yeah, that's all.
All right, I will contact Pendleton and see if we can reserve the room for that date. We'll plan on having it there. Alisa, can we go through the task assignments that you have down?
You want me to read them to you, or you want me to mail them to you? I'll go through it then.
Yeah, read them, please.
I'll read them. Brian,
yeah.
Okay. Brian, replace and send out budget pages when the administrative fees are posted. Brian with Yanni, get the end of year payments entered. Schedule trainings for the end of March in Baker and Ontario or whatever for the project outcome. Brian, explore Leo subsidizing travel to training. Brian, update the website with housekeeping and the right names and so on. Aaron, McCusker, follow up on what may be some travel funds left over. Contact Jerry Ann Thompson. Brian, make me a star beanie. Darlene, send out bylaws and minutes for May 11th meeting. Perry, you're going to send out the MOUs for signing with the billing statements, or Brian is, I don't know which. March send out the full budget proposal. I think that's Perry and Brian both. Brian send out a note to board members to please pay their dues. Brian, look up when the last
I don't think
insurance
it's
payment
dues,
was made.
but contribute to the,
Contribution. Okay,
yeah.
contributions. Brian, look up when the last insurance payment was made. Brian, check on the status of the website redundancy, and so on, domain registration, Bluehost, and so on. And
Okay,
Perry, what?
There's no redundancy anymore. We just
Okay.
have it registered through Hoover, and I wasn't able to find what our hosting costs are. So the site is a WordPress site. So it could be through WordPress.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. And then one more was Perry, you're going to look at the Art Place bottom line and see if some of it needs to be rerouted into other end of year lines for 2017. That's what I have. And I didn't write down Brian's goals because he was writing those down.
Yes.
So did you want me to print this out and mail it, or have you got it all?
Oh, I couldn't keep up with typing. If you would send it to me as well,
Yeah,
that would be nice.
You're so fast, Lisa.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know you wanted.
That's okay.
So
you know what? I could
great.
just replay the recording, so you don't really need to type it all out. If you just hand wrote it up,
all right.
I can go back.
Okay. All right.
Pilot.
So you don't want me to? All right.
Yeah, you don't need to.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, that concludes our business. Thanks to everybody for their time and efforts and preparation for this meeting. We'll go ahead and adjourn unless anybody has anything final to add.
Oh, I just
Good
had a
meeting.
question.
Thank you.
Buzzy's here. When will the newsletter come out, and did I get the correct form to Charles?
Oh, that was for me. Sorry.
Yeah. Did I get the correct format to Charles?
I think you did. If not, we'll figure it out. But yeah, we should newsletter. The quarterly should come out in the next couple weeks. I hope. We're hoping.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Oh.
Thanks.
Buzzy,
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yes,
Do you
I am.
want to call me or me call you about the Wallowa situation, or what do you want to do?
Not yet.
about
Yeah, if you want to call me, but I'm leaving at 1 today, so probably sometime next week would be better.
All right, I'll do it. What's the best number for you, please?
971-270.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Meeting adjourned.